trust. And so there's a lot of situations that people get into when it comes to relationships that turn out to be total disasters. And so uh, ironically, we pursue relationships with people a lot of times to fulfill our needs. We're wanting to feel loved. We're wanting to feel cherished. We're wanting to feel important. We want to feel like there's someone that we can trust, that we can rely on, that we can go to, that can help us out. One client said, I wanted to have a boyfriend so that if I found myself stranded, I could call him and he could come and pick me up. She worked as a professional driver. So think about it. If you want to have a relationship, it's because you're wanting to get something out of that relationship, something out of that person, and that's not evil and that's not wrong. You have needs. You have needs. You have wants. You have desires that you prefer to have them fulfilled by another person, and that's not wrong. But sometimes we can get into situations like Joanna. She met a guy. It was online dating. Everything seemed fine. He seemed to check out. They had a couple conversations online. He seemed great. And then as they went out on their first date, again, he was knocking it out of the park. And they go on their second date. He's knocking it out of the park. And then things just start kind of moving fast, and it was during the pandemic. So they had to figure out where they're going to quarantine, and they decided didn't want to do it alone. They wanted to do it together. So next thing you know, they're moving in together faster than what would normally happen. And then the next thing you know, things really weird start popping up about this guy. And he would disappear for long periods of time. And the place that he said that he worked didn't seem to line up with where he was actually getting his checks from. And as Joanna started putting one thing together after the next thing, she started to realize this guy wasn't who he said he was at all. This guy actually had a whole nother family on the other side of town. And so she's thinking, I'm starting a whole new family with this guy. And now this is the worst nightmare of any person going into a dating situation. It was totally a untrustworthy bad actor, a con man who was actually playing upon her vulnerability, playing upon her emotions, manipulating her into this relationship. And isn't that what we fear? That we're going to be fooled, that someone's going to betray us, that we can't trust. And trust is one of the main components of complex trauma. Anytime you have a trauma, that's a violation of your boundaries. So if you experience a trauma, it could have been abuse, it could have been an accident that happened, but whatever it was, it violated your values. And so it causes you to feel like, in order to lock down, to keep myself safe, I need to no longer trust anyone, or it could be something like a car. And so you learn not to trust. You don't trust airplanes. You don't trust cars. You don't trust people. You pick something or you pick everything and you say, I don't trust that. Okay, good. Now I'm safe. But does it really keep us safe to go through life trusting no one and nothing? Well, we might find a degree of safety there because when we don't open ourselves up, then it provides less opportunities for people to hurt us, harm us, betray us, take advantage of us. But is it actually possible to cut off all people completely? Because that's what you're saying when you say, I don't trust anyone. You're saying you're willing to give up the relationship with all people completely. Because trust is the currency of relationship. In order to have any type of relationship, which is transactional by nature, then you have to have some type of trust because you can't do a transaction without trust. And so you can't have a relationship without any type of trust. And so if you remove your trust 100%, as you say you are, then you're actually removing the possibility for a relationship 100%. If you remove 50% of your trust, then you're removing 50% of the possibility for a person to have a relationship. So think about your situation when you go into this mindset of, I don't trust anyone. It's really a trauma response. And it seems like it's going to help to keep you safe. But the reality is much more grim, because the reality is we can't live our life without any people, because that would put us at quite the disadvantage. So we're going to need people to buy groceries from, to put our money in a bank, to babysit our kids, or to watch our dog, or to house sit, or whatever. We need people, right? And so we reluctantly reach out to people, saying the whole time, I don't trust, I don't trust, but I have to do this. And we do it, and what happens? Well, eventually somebody will betray your trust. Maybe not that time, but eventually they will. Why? Because betrayal is an inevitability in relationships. Betrayal is an inevitability. It's not if you get betrayed, it's when you get betrayed. It's a part of the deal of dealing with, operating against, or in tandem with imperfect humans. And some are wicked, and we don't know who the wicked ones and who's just the imperfect ones. We can deal with the imperfect ones because they're going to say sorry and they're going to try to do better next time, right? But the wicked ones, the ones who just hurt you and then they don't feel bad about it, it's untenable. There's nothing we can do about those relationships. And so we have to have the ability to cut them off. But cutting off a person that we recognize as toxic, as wicked, as untrustworthy doesn't mean that you're cutting off all of your trusts from everyone. And so when we learn the skill of disconnection, it keeps us out of trauma response. The skill of disconnection is recognizing a person as not being worthy of all of our trust, and taking and not giving them all of our trust, or a person not being worthy of any of our trust and not giving them any of our trust. We are disconnecting. We are no longer investing in that person. But that doesn't mean we give up on mankind or womankind or bosses, employees, or whatever, or cars or airplanes, or whatever it was you decided that you were going to lob off in your quest to not get hurt. You're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You are impairing yourself in your life to take a blanket approach instead of a nuanced approach. So a more nuanced, healthy approach than I'm going to cut everyone off is, this person, I have deemed them to be not trustworthy, so I'm not going to give them my trust. This person is not trustworthy with this, but I can trust them with that, right? And that's nuanced trust. Once we work in nuanced trust, everything starts to make more sense in life, because I will trust my grocer to give me groceries that aren't going to poison me. It's not a guarantee, by the way, but I'm choosing to trust him, and trust is my choice. But it's nuanced trust, because just because I trust him to give me my groceries doesn't mean I'm going to trust him with my children. And I may trust my babysitter with my children, because I trust her with my children doesn't mean I trust her with my bank account. Does that make sense? So it's nuanced trust. I'm going to extend the trust that's going to be necessary for me to have the relationship in order for us to be able to move forward. That's nuanced trust. I'm going to extend the trust necessary in order for us to have a relationship. When we work in nuanced trust, when we realize trust is our choice, then we are empowered, and we don't have to suffer the detriment of being in fear, trauma response. I can't trust anyone. One person said, well, the Bible says, don't trust any man. There is a scripture that says, don't put your trust in nobles. That's true. That's true. The Bible also says, don't trust your heart. But is that saying in a literal overall sense that you are absolutely supposed to remove all trust from all people? Obviously, that wouldn't be the case, because that same book also commands that you love your brother, right? And that you can go to the overseers in the congregation, right? If you need them to pray over you, the older men, right? So it talks about marriage, right? So if you're literally supposed to trust no man, then that wouldn't coincide. So obviously it's being misapplied to take that scripture and say, in an absolute sense, that means I'm supposed to trust no one. The more accurate application of that principle is that you're not putting trust into people or institutions more than you would put trust in God. It's that you recognize is that you recognize that people will let you down, that people will betray you. Betrayal is inevitable. Does that make sense? So when we have a nuanced perspective on trust, then we're able to take it, but we're also able to give it because we have to be able to forgive and sometimes restore trust and sometimes forgive without restoring trust. Like you may forgive your parents for the abuse, but you may decide they're not going to take care of your children. You say you've forgiven them, but you're not giving them the trusts to be able to take care of your children because you recognize them as child abusers. They have a history of child abuse. That makes sense. That's nuanced trust. In other cases, you may have to restore trust or you may choose to restore trust from a place of personal power. Your child is going to betray your trust. They are going to let you down. It is improper parenting to say, now I can't trust you anymore. You have lost my trust because you've lied to me, because you stole, because you did something bad. Now you're sitting here, you're telling this 6-year-old they lost your trust. Now, how are they supposed to learn from that lesson? What's the lesson? I make one mistake and I'm doomed for the rest of my life? Or we say to them, you're going to have to earn my trust back. Okay. But please understand, you are the steward of your trust. You are the king of your trust. You are the queen of your trust. So you're deciding if someone needs to jump through hoops and earn your trust. That's up to you. So don't put it on another person and make them believe, like an innocent child, make them believe that it's up to them to make you feel trust. That's incorrect. Your feelings are your responsibility, not theirs. This is not easy for everyone to understand. The reason we restore trust to the child is not because they deserve the trust, is not because they earned the trust. No, trust does not have to be earned, especially when we're dealing with a child. They didn't earn the trust. So then why are we going to continue to trust them? It's proper to say to the child, listen, I can see that you're sorry. You've apologized to me. You are going to be punished for what you did, but I am going to restore trust to you. I am going to trust you again. I choose to trust you again because I believe you have the ability. I believe you have the capacity to make me proud, to do what it is I'm asking you to do, to follow my rules. So from here on out, the slate is wiped clean and I'm giving you my trust again. Please don't betray it. Now, why is that more powerful? Well, now we're allowing the child to actually grow and learn. And now we haven't cut off the relationship with the child. To the extent we cut off trust, we cut off our relationships. In all relationships, if you cut off the trust, you're ending the when you say I can't trust my boyfriend, well then it's done. If that's really if that's really what you mean, it's done. Pack up your bags, it's done. So telling a child I can't trust you is basically telling the child I'm severing this. It's like we're no longer father, son, mother, son. If it's not helpful. They learn nothing. When we restore the trust again, we help them to take accountability. We help them to learn from their actions. We help them learn from their mistakes. We restore the trust, showing them forgiveness, helping them to be able to trust us. And we're demonstrating the personal power we have over our trust to be able to bestow it upon those whom we choose. It deepens the bond. It makes them feel grateful. And it gives them the opportunity to be good instead of being condemned as bad. And so we have to have that proper understanding of trust in order to be able to navigate that aspect of relationships. But sometimes people are fearing getting out there into the dating world, or they're fearing relationships because they have a fear of abandonment. And the fear of abandonment causes us to show up into relationships with a mask, people pleasing, trying to make people like us. laughing at everyone's jokes that aren't funny to us. Do you ever fall to this? Do you ever find yourself trying to appease other people, going against who you really are because you're afraid that you're going to lose them or they're going to abandon you or they're not going to like you? I want you to change your perspective right now. And here's your new healed perspective. Okay. Because that's unhealed trauma response. I fear abandonment. I fear abandonment. We're not led by fear. So here's our new healed way of thinking. I pursue abandonment. I want to be abandoned. Abandonment is a good thing. Rejection is good for me. I pursue abandonment. Now, why would we do that? Why is it more healed to embrace abandonment? Why is abandonment and rejection a good thing? This is this is the reason why you keep getting into abusive relationship after abusive relationship. It's because of this for many of us. It's because we don't even understand why we should pursue rejection. We pursue rejection. We want the rejection because the rejection removes the toxic person from our life. Rejection removes the incompatible people from our life. We don't fear abandonment. We embrace abandonment because we want to be abandoned by narcissists. Does that make sense? We want to be abandoned by narcissists. That's a good thing. That's the healed mindset. Please write this down because it's not coming natural to most of us. We want to be abandoned by narcissists. So the way that we go into relationships is not, oh God, I hope these people don't leave me. I hope they don't abandon me. No, no, no. You are to show up to relationships as, go ahead and abandon me. Ugh, get out of here. Go, go, go. And how do we do that? How do we get them to go away? By being authentic. We're trying to scare them away by being raw and authentic, just being totally who you are, showing up with absolutely no mask, no gimmick, just you, raw. I want total authenticity. Why do we do this? Because total authenticity will scare away all the people who aren't truly compatible with us. Total authenticity scares away the people who aren't compatible. Now, by embracing the rejection, embracing the abandonment, we're getting rid of these people that wouldn't like us. And we don't be when we're trying to keep everyone, it's very confusing life to live because you're putting on a mask. And so if you think you have a friend, you're like, well, they don't truly like me because they really just like my mask. So they really don't know me. And if they knew me, then they would leave me. And I don't want them to see that. So I'm not going to be myself. But now I don't really feel any connection with anyone, even though I have friends, because they're not really my friends, and they're the friends of my mask. And people live their whole life according to the mask. They don't get the job, their mask got the job. They don't get chosen, their mask got chosen. They don't get proposed to, their mask got proposed to. Don't do that. That's that's hell. Don't live like that. Live authentically. Be show up as totally yourself. If you don't like yourself, then work on yourself. Make yourself a well-rounded person. Work on your spirituality. Work on your personal sense of power, your skills and abilities. Work on your wisdom. Build it. Build your love. Build your empathy. Be a person that you would love to be around. And then you can show up as authentic. When you show up as authentic, what happens? Then you're going to repel the people who don't like the authentic you. That's the best thing that can happen. We want that abandonment. When we show up as assertive with our words, that means that we tell the truth. Assertiveness is to tell the truth. When we speak truth, and we're very, 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 very highly assertive, which meaning we're disagreeable. We just say exactly where we really stand. And so if anything disagrees with us, we say that. And what happens is toxic people pick up on that and they don't like it and then they go away from you. You've been wondering how to spot a narcissist. The key is not to spot them. It's actually better to live in the bliss of not knowing whether someone's a narcissist or not. I don't want you spotting narcissists. You don't need to memorize all the red flags. It's not going to work. There's too many of them. What you have to do is repel them, and you repel them by being strongly assertive. What does that look like? It's by speaking up the truth all the time. Oh, that's not how I remember that situation. Oh, that's weird. Nah, I'm not really into that. Nah, you guys go ahead. No, thanks. I'll just drive myself. Ah, I don't really like doing that. Ooh, this is awkward. I feel kind of uncomfortable right now. Ooh, weird energy. You're just expressing yourself, who you truly are, what you truly like, where you really stand. Oh, was that the joke? I'm sorry, that one didn't elicit a natural laughter in me, but keep trying at it, but don't quit your day job. Well, won't I be mean? Isn't that mean to just tell people how I really feel and just be authentic and not smile, out of politeness and all the mean people have less anxiety, mean people sleep better. And so if you want to live a happy life, be authentic and don't worry about being mean. Obviously, any person that someone doesn't like, that someone doesn't jive with, they think that person's mean. You understand? A Democrat thinks a Republican's mean, and a Republican thinks a Democrat's mean or dumb, right? So instead of worrying about what someone else thinks of you, be who you are, be authentic, just be real. There's always going to be enemies, there's always going to be haters. No one doesn't have haters, it doesn't exist. Stop trying to keep everyone liking you. That's a childhood fantasy, it's not real. You can't name one person of note through all of history, from Gandhi to Jesus, who was liked by everyone. Every person, if they're of note, if they did anything with their life, they were a reasonably polarizing figure. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like them. There's always someone that doesn't like you. So don't worry about the people that don't like you. Don't worry about that. Get them away from you by being authentic, by being yourself. Is that making sense? So this is how you must show up to all relationships. Total authenticity, just the real you, just the real you. Now, for some, they go in with their hypervigilance. Okay. So some trauma survivors feel that they are clairvoyant almost. They float into relationships. They're like, I am an empath. I can feel the feelings of the people around me. My intuition tells me everything I need to know. Meanwhile, by the way, this is the same person whose intuition didn't save them from the last relationship when they got used and abused, the con situation where they lost all their money, marriage number two and marriage number one. Intuition didn't help them, right? And they go, "Oh, I just didn't listen to it." Okay, well, whatever. And now they're coming in. They're going, "Yes, I have special powers that are going to keep me safe. And I'm going to float in and I'm going to feel the energy of the people in the room." And then they go, "Oh, I can sense his energy. I sense his energy isn't good. Oh, I sense he's upset with me. Oh, I sense. This is hypervigilance. It's a trauma response. You don't have special powers of sensing people's energy. That's not what it is. You do have like a hyper tuned ability to analyze people's actions and facial expressions, but that's hyper vigilance. It's not always accurate. And so you can't actually rely on that to help you to have a relationship. In fact, the more you can deaden that, the better, because it's going to sabotage your relationships. And I promise you that. Again, your hypervigilance is going to sabotage your relationships. The more you can deaden it, the better. You deaden it by understanding very clearly and being led by the conscious mind, not the subconscious intuition, led by the conscious reasoning mind, understanding I cannot read minds. I cannot read the thoughts and intentions of other people. That's the honest to God truth. You cannot read the thoughts of intentions of other people, right? So I'm very familiar with this because I work with trauma survivors. So inside of our sessions, a lot of times as trauma survivors start using the hypervigilance to start reading my mind. They go, "What's wrong? What is that? Why did you move like that? Why did you suck your teeth like that? Why do you have that facial expression? What is this?" There has been no time where they have accurately assessed the way that I was thinking. I repeat, they're never right. When a trauma survivor tries to read what I'm thinking, they're never correct. You can't know what I'm thinking because you don't even think like I think. I'm trying, what I'm doing is I'm trying to figure out how you think because we don't think the same. And the only difference is that I realize I don't understand how you think you know what I'm thinking. And guess what? It's always negative. And that's what hypervigilance really is. It's a trauma response that's trying to keep us safe because we're afraid of what someone else is thinking or going to do, that they're going to judge us, that they're going to abandon us, that they're going to hurt us, they're going to make fun of us, they're going to talk about us behind our back. We have fear, and we're being led by fear again. And we learned this skill in childhood because we had that unpredictable caregiver, and we felt like we had to read them. We felt like we had to read them, and so we did everything we could to analyze the bodily expressions and the right. One famous man, he wrote in his book, when I heard the keys drop in the tray, when my father would come home as a child, when I heard the keys drop in the tray, I knew my father's mood. So I knew if I needed to get out there and tell jokes or if I should just stay in my room. I knew his mood by the sound of the keys dropping in the tray. Many of us growing up in abusive households, that's what we learned to pick up on all the. I remember I used to hear the sound of the how the car pulled into the driveway, right? And what are we doing? We're trying to learn, are we safe? Are we going to get in trouble? Is it going to be another yelling fest, beating fest, an abuse situation? We're trying to stay safe. So forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for developing this hypervigilance. It was a way of keeping yourself safe, but understand it's not going to work for actual relationships now in the adult world going forward. We got to deaden that. The best thing to do is to walk into each relationship dumb, recognizing that I cannot read what you're thinking. I cannot figure out your intentions. I don't know your thoughts. I don't know your heart. I don't know if you're good. I don't know if you're bad. I literally don't know. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you want. The only thing I have is what you tell me. And it doesn't mean that I believe that it's accurate. It just means that's the only thing I have. So talk to me. And when we have that attitude in relationships, we are more successful. Talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. And then you're approaching the same way and you're talking to them. I'm telling myself a story that you're upset because of this and this. I'm telling myself a story that my assessment of what you did the other day or how you're shifting or while you're moving, my assessment is that. Am I correct? Put it out there for the other person in the relationship. Let them correct you. Let them tell you if that's really true. I've seen too many people sabotage a good relationship because of a false perception they created in their mind. They decided they weren't safe and they ran away. Don't be another statistic. Someone who loses a good guy or good girl because you just told yourself a story in your mind that you weren't safe and then you just booked it. Don't do that. Communicate effectively. Be authentic. Ask questions. Make no assumptions. And let people know exactly where you stand, even if that could lead to some hurt feelings. It's better to be hurt in the short run, but have the truth than to live a lie in the bliss of ignorance, only to have your whole world crumble down later on. So hopefully these have been some helpful tips for navigating relationships. Obviously, there's so much more we have to talk about when it comes to relationships. Boundaries, communication, avoidance, triggers, people pleasing, and then we got to get into vetting. Vetting. It's really important to me that you learn, and we have a lot of ladies in the room, learn to vet, rotationally date, meaning you are not chasing a man. You are not to chase a man. You're not trying to hold on to someone. That's not the goal. Try to find a guy and hold and hang on to him. You are vetting potential candidates. That's what you're doing. So all of them at the same time. That's what I need you to focus on, is learning to vet simultaneously multiple men. There is no limit to the number. You need to be questioning, 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 interviewing, interviewing, moving through quickly via text, save energy, phone, text. If you got to go on a date, that's fine. But I prefer you just save energy and you don't even spend time with a person until they've met all of your basic requirements first. So set up your standards, understand what your standards are, and move the cream of the crop, the guys who meet all of your standards, and move them into a queue. Your queue is going to be the guys that you actually date. Yes, guys, plural with an S on the end. When I say date, I don't mean some like modern thing where you go and sleep with a bunch of people. I don't understand that. Don't do that. It's unhealthy. It's unsafe. It's unsanitary. Don't do that. Your job is to take these guys, you're putting them in the queue, and these guys in the queue now have gotten into a position by your decision for you to invest some time in them. And the time that you're spending with them is so that you can mutually get to know one another. That's the purpose of the dating that you're doing. So it's multiple guys simultaneously. Okay. So you got this guy here, number one. He's on Friday. Then on Saturday night, you go out with this guy, number two. And then on Sunday evening, you're going out with that guy, number three. Now, why are we doing multiple guys at once? Because we don't have time. We don't have time. So, what do you do when they ask you about exclusivity or one of them wants you to be their girlfriend? Number one, you say, I am not exclusive with someone who hasn't taken me off the market. That's what you say. I am not exclusive with someone who hasn't taken me off the market. You can show them on your ring, on your hand where there's no ring so that they can see the visual. Oh, see my hand here? See how there's no ring on the hand? I cannot be exclusive with someone who has not put the ring on the finger. So I need someone to take me off the market. Until then, I need to find my husband. Okay? That's how you handle that. If they say, can you be my girlfriend? Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know what that means. Girlfriend, what is that? That's not an actual thing. You say, I'm already your girlfriend. I'm a girl, I'm your friend. I don't understand what you're trying to say. What he's trying to say is, can we be exclusive? And the answer is back to C number one. I want to be exclusive with someone, but that will be the one that took me off the market. So I need someone to claim me as his own, to put the ring on the finger. When a man comes and he puts that ring on, when he gets engaged with me, when he takes me off the market, then I would be exclusive with him because now we're working towards marriage. But I am marriage minded. So I am looking to get married. I am not looking to be a girlfriend, whatever that is. I don't know what that is. I'm not looking for that, to be a girlfriend. Okay. So I'm just letting you ladies know that's not a real thing. This is a fake thing. This isn't a real thing. There's no such thing as a girlfriend. It's just a girl that's a friend. And if we're just friends, then we don't have sex because you don't have sex with friends. Does that make sense? The only people that you're going to be exclusive with are going to be someone you're married to or someone you're engaged to be married to. In the meantime, you need to not be wasting time and you need to find your husband. So he needs to understand, I'm looking, I'm searching right now. And as soon as I find him, that's going to be great. But I'll know who he is because he's going to be the guy who takes me off the market. And now only your top guys have that potential being able to do that. Meanwhile, you're getting to know them, they're getting to know you. And yes, so male psychology is he will recognize, oh crap, um, I don't want her out here talking to these other guys. I got to zero down on her and I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to go and get that ring. I'm going to put that on her finger. And then that way you get to weed out who's the real marriage-minded men who are really trying to move this forward, who are the men that are serious about you. This is how we get to see who's serious about us versus who's just out here to waste time and play around with all these fake terms like girlfriend and things like that.